I was very, very pleased. I thought of the 15 days, obviously three of those are in non-padded practices. So if you take those out, the remaining 12, I really thought we had 11 of 12 really, really good practices. And, um, I think that's a high percentage, is a high mark to shoot for. And, I think that speaks to maybe some of the maturity on our team. But I really felt like that we had productive practices most all of those days. Was really pleased with the way they came back from the open practice on that Saturday. We had two remaining the following week. Was real pleased at the work that they got, and the effort that they brought into those last two. So really pleased. I think we've added depth at some places we need it. Still looking for a little additional help at a couple spots, but um, all in all, I was real pleased with spring ball.
Good. All right, guys. Well, I'm just going to open it up for questions at this point. So we've got a smaller group. So if you guys got questions, go ahead at this time.
Hugh, when you look at the linebacker room, and you've said it's one of the shallowest, I guess, of your groups through your first few years, how pleased were you with Ahmad and Casey getting the reps that they were able to get this spring, and hopefully building that depth here for the fall?
Yeah, one of the great things about the way we approach spring is the young kids certainly got plenty of reps, and in the linebacker room, obviously with Tyron Dupree and Carl Poole being out with shoulder injuries, it made for a lot of reps for those younger kids and new kids like Rashad Harding. So I think Ahmad is one heck of a football player. He's going to be a really good one. He's just young. Loved having him here this spring. Casey is more of a hybrid for us right now. I think he's going to go grow into one of those Jesse Lemonade type defensive ends. Really, move Jerome Jolly to linebacker along with Micah Glaze, so they got quality reps there too to provide some depth. And so hopefully Aaron Pierre's leadership's been very, very good there. But we need to get everybody back healthy and still kind of have in the back of our mind the possibility of taking another one to get us to the number of 9 in that room that we really want.
Coach, your defensive line group, you got it's another position that you got most everybody back there. And it's been a couple seasons you guys have really been, kind of building up the depth there. Do you think you're finally getting to the point where you hope you've got enough able bodies to kind of fill in up front on the defense?
Yeah, we're at the number there. Certainly we'll be over a little bit with the super seniors returning there, and once we get Body and Zachary and Brunson here and Jackson Shire, so those are that room. We've definitely improved ourselves since our arrival here. We've gotten longer. I like the look of that room. Love the fact that Ralph and Jayad and Elijah are coming back to stay with us and help us keep building. They provide really good leadership in that room.
Coach, good morning, sir. I hope you're doing well today, sir.
Doing good. Same to you.
Got to ask you, I know you have a lot of objectives, going into a spring and things you want to accomplish, but overall, if there was one big objective you have every year going into spring football, what would that objective be and why?
Uh, well, on any generically, maybe not just if we're talking specifically this past spring, it would be a little different. But I think the one objective that I would always say about spring practice would be to produce quality depth out of at positions through spring ball. And so that would be the one thing that I would say that spring ball is provided by. I've been on record many times saying I wish we didn't have spring ball, and I wish they would give us 2 weeks of training like in June during the camp season, where you're already here, your staff's here, and you have all the newcomers here. I would much rather do that than go through spring ball. But irregardless of when it is, the objective would be to get ahead of the curve in producing quality depth.
Hey, Coach, also, when you look at it, it just seems like 15 practices just go. You just think you just started, and then now all of a sudden 15 practices go. It just seems like those practices just go by, so fast because you only get 15 of them. But it seems like you just start, and then all of a sudden you're finished.
Yeah, it goes fast. It's like seems like the older I get, time does that. Whether it's the season or whether it's a year or whether it's spring ball, but we stretched ours out over the course of a full month, and that gives quality rest time and days in between practice to clean films up, and um, but it did go fast, and here we are now. I mean, we'll be taking exams before we blink, and then into the full grind mode of the off season with the strength and conditioning staff, which I think is vital. And heck, it'll be August before we know it. We're back in camp.
Coach, a year ago, this time, obviously, going through the COVID pandemic and through an off season that you didn't know, kind of how things would play out and if there'd be a season and all that. How, hopeful are you that, obviously COVID's not 100% behind us, but to hopefully have a more standard, more normal off season?
Yeah, that would be really nice. But I've kind of just conditioned my mind that I have zero control over exactly what that looks like. So I try not to get caught up in unrealistic expectations or things that I can't control. I do feel confident there will be a season, and I'm somewhat optimistic that it would be more normal than not. Just from I don't have any facts to back that up. It just seems like that is the the direction we seem to be headed in the nation. Um, but again, if it's not, then our team and our coaches and our administration will take what is given to us and make the best of that situation. But I'm sure hopeful that our fans get to enjoy our games and things return to somewhat a bit of normalcy. I don't know that we'll ever get back to exactly what it used to be, but we certainly hope for some more normal things to occur.
You guys have been active recently with, I believe, 3 preferred walk-ons in terms of kickers and punters that have committed to Liberty, and you did get someone from North Texas who announced on social media that he is transferring to Liberty. Are you able to comment on those?
Not individually, but certainly um, your assessment is accurate. We have been active, and Tanner's done a nice job of trying to um, prepare us for the future whenever we lose Austin Mock and Aiden and um, and Barbier and the other kickers. So we're always in the cycle there of trying to have the next guy on campus on the team that would take their spots. So Tanner's done a nice job with recruiting those, and we've been pretty open that we would continue to look for outside receiver help, and so we'll continue to do that.
You inherited one scholarship kicker, and I believe the punter and long snapper you put on a scholarship early on. What's your typical philosophy for having numbers of scholarships for your specialists? You typically like to have at least one at each of those positions, or is that just based upon who's in the program?
No, I have an absolute plan that I won't vary from, and that's three scholarships go to specialists, and that's what we'll always stick with. And took me a little bit to get it exactly that way here, but that's what I believe in. and that leaves you with 82, and defense needs to have 42 of them, and offense needs to have 40 of the remaining. So that's kind of I can't say that it will always be exactly that way. Sometimes the best available gets one of those, but that's in my mind. That's the way it should be, with offense having 40, defense 42, and the specialist 3. And I would like to have the specialist on campus to just rotate on that scholarship after being with us.
Hey, Coach, got to ask you this too. So, I asked you earlier about your love for March Madness. You love it, but you also talk about the family pool. So, who ended up winning the Freeze family March Madness pool?
Unbelievably, my daughter Reagan, who probably put the least amount of effort into researching any teams. I did have Baylor winning it all, but as did several of my family. So, but I did not fare very well in that family get together.
Were you near the middle of the pack, end of the pack, or?
I was in the middle. Wasn't dead last, but was dead in the middle, and there was only 7 of us. So,
Which position group did improve the most over the spring in your assessment?
well, I would have to say just my initial gut is the safeties, just because of the additions of Skylar and Rocket and Jalen. Corners, I would say that too, because of Lowe was a great addition there, and Dejan was a good addition too. So, but probably safety. I just felt like we were faster, more physical there.
I know it came out earlier about CJ Yarborough opting out of the spring. Have you had a chance to talk with him since the spring, or since his decision early on? And is there any hope in your mind at this point that he returns to playing football?
No, CJ's a great kid. I think his decision was made that he was going a different direction than college football. That's my understanding in my conversations with him, and we respect that, and wish the best for him.
With losing CJ Yarborough at outside, how much have you placed on Noah to stand out, be a leader out there? And did some other guys step up at outside receiver that you can turn to in the fall?
Noah's definitely one we look to for leadership there, and he'll be heavily leaned on come fall to be the leader of that group, and hopefully to produce good numbers. I think he's got to work on accepting that role and having confidence in that role as he steps into it. And we still need others to step up there. I thought there were days that Lofton, I thought, took some strides forward. Obviously, we believe in C.J. Daniels, but he was out most of spring with injuries. So, but definitely need Noah to be a leader in that group.
Do you think the injury bug that bit Javion a lot last year is behind him? And what did you see out of him this spring? I know he had some impressive catches in that spring game that we got to see in person, but do you think he's turned the corner and can actually be able to contribute on a weekly basis in the fall?
Yeah, we sure hope so. I think there's no way to predict injuries, but I do feel like he has put himself in a position to have a role on this team, and how big of a role will be determined. How he handles fall camp and the off season, and obviously his production. But and Shaw was out also, which we held him out of most every live rep. And so he'll provide some added leadership and depth to that outside position also.
We've talked a lot about the success you guys had last season, and with the super seniors and some of these newcomers you got a lot of depth pretty much across the board. You mentioned a couple spots you're looking to add some guys, but what would be your message to just the Liberty fans as far as, you know, their expectations as they go into the season? You know, because I hear from people talking about, you know, winning 10, 11, 12 games even next season. You know, what will be your expectation or your message to the fans?
Well, it's good that they have those expectations. That means we've done something, right for them to feel that way. But I would also say just be guarded on expectations. In particular, since we're an independent, and every year's schedule has a little different flavor and a little different variety, and certainly you can't predict how injuries will occur. And when you're not in a normal every year schedule with a conference with a few out of conference teams, and you're playing basically a new schedule each year, which there's some excitement to that and some positives to that also. But 8 wins on a given year on versus a certain schedule could really be equal to 10 or 11 wins against another given year's schedule. And so I'm very careful not to put quantitative values on what success looks like for a given season. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I believe that a reasonable expectation for our program is for us to be competing week in, week out with whoever's on our schedule, and for us to end up hopefully going to bowl games on most every given year. And to me, that is really where we should just keep our focus, and that's being ultra, competitive, no matter who's on the schedule. That doesn't mean you win them all, but and ultimately being able to represent our university on a national stage in a bowl game.
You going to any of the NASCAR races this upcoming weekend since they're both in state?
I actually thought about that and talked to Stenhouse, which I do weekly, but I don't know. I'm not a big live sports outside of coaching. I like watching them on TV, and I've been there and I've done that. I might would do that for him and for William Byron, obviously, just to see those guys who are both having great years, by the way. But the chances of doing that are probably. I know I won't this weekend because it's the Masters. Where's the race this weekend? Is it Martinsville or?
It's Martinsville this weekend and then Richmond next weekend.
Yeah. So I don't know, but this is Masters weekend, so I doubt that I'll catch both of them on the TiVo, and but I might go to that Richmond one next weekend. We'll see.
Back to Stenhouse, how did that materialize with you becoming like a weekly coach for them? Did he reach out to you? Did you in conversations with him? How did that transpire?
Well, we're friends, number one, and when I was at Ole Miss, he's a Mississippi guy, just like I was raised there. We were actually raised maybe 20 minutes apart. He's in Olive Branch, and I was in a little town called Independence, and he would come and watch us play games at Ole Miss every chance he got, and come to practice. And he found out I loved NASCAR, and we kind of hit it off there. And then when I drove the pace car at Talladega, got to hang out with him, sit in his pit box then, and so we just have really developed a good friendship. And I think he likes. Like many people, you when you get to see the inside of a football program, and some coaches you relate to, just like with me. Some books I read really just catch my attention, and I relate to, and it speaks to me, and or some preachers or whatever it is. And he likes the themes that we do during the season. And I don't know that I'm doing very much for coaching for him. He just I think he's kind of using some themes that I give him to use for his team, and as they're trying to build, into being one of those top 16 contenders to make the chase. So that was his request of me, and certainly I was happy to try to give him something every week or two to help his team.
Do you talk with him directly, or do you talk with like a team? Do you do a Zoom or a Microsoft Teams with the entire JTG Geordie team?
It's been some of both, but typically it's just me and him, and I'll send him. Will, our video guy, will send him something from my past that he has recorded, and he shows it to his team. And then they usually reach out to me somehow to say thanks and what they got out of it.
And you mentioned earlier when talking about him, like he needs to strive for pars during the year. Make your pars. Don't get caught up like in that stretch he had last year where he was wrecking on the first lap at Darlington in their first race back, and he was having engine failures because pushing too hard or not being in the right position. And then take your birdie opportunities like he did a couple weeks ago at Bristol when he finished second. There is that part of the message to him of, instead of striving for wins all the time, just be consistent and then put yourself in that position to be in the chase?
Yeah, he and I both love golf, and so it was his idea to talk in terms of golf, and and my thoughts are, there's some weeks that you need to get a bogey out of it, and it's just, let's just don't have triple bogey. And but even if one of those happens, you got to play the next play, and you can't blink. And but obviously pars are great, and birdies are even better. And he might throw in an eagle, every now and then if he can win one of those restrictor plates, or one of those that his car is really good at. But the objective is, man, just let's try to do the things that keep us in the game long enough to make a par. And if you have a penalty, or if you have something that sets you back, you don't have to get it all back at once. Just stay in the game, and let's manufacture a bogey out of it if we need to, and look up, and maybe at the end of the day you have a par.
Hey, Coach Freeze, who's your favorite for the Masters? Who you got winning it?
Oh man, that's hard. I think it's great for the game of golf that Jordan Spieth is competing. It wouldn't shock me if he competes for it, but I don't know how Justin Thomas has been playing so well this year, and I think he has all the shots for that course. And so I guess if I had to say one, it would probably be Justin Thomas. But man, there's so many great ones now, and my heart kind of pulls for Lee Westwood to be in it again. I guess because I'm an older guy and he's older, but I like that guy. He's like one you want to hang out with and play around the golf with. So I'd love to see him in it. But then you got the super firepowers of Jon Rahm and Dustin Johnson and DeChambeau. Who knows what they'll do? But it wouldn't shock me if Justin Thomas was the winner.
I think CBS needs to call you to be a golf analyst. I mean, throw that in the repertoire, because it looked like you breaking it down.
Yeah, I can break golf down, but I have no interest in traveling to be an analyst. If I can do it from home, I'll do that. When I get through coaching, I don't see me. I'll do the commentary if they'll let me do it from home. I don't like traveling very much.
You and Jim Nantz side by side.
No, I'm not. I'm not in that league.
One other quick thing about NASCAR. I mean, you talk about you being a big NASCAR fan. I mean, were there, other than Stenhouse, are there any drivers, past or present, that you really loved or enjoyed, over the years?
Yeah, I was always a Jeff Gordon and Earnhardt Jr. guy. I liked both of those. And then when I got to meet, Mr. Hendrick, and I actually went down and did the opening leadership deal for the 24 team and all their crew with Chad Knaus. And so obviously it was always Gordon and Earnhardt until I got to know these guys. And so now I'm kind of Stenhouse and William Byron, and I'm friends with Rodney Childers too on the 4 car. So I got to pull for those. And I love Joe Gibbs. So, I mean, I like all those guys. I just love I love the competitiveness of this year so far. So many different winners, and it's not being dominated by any one car.
I got to ask you this real quick, Coach. We've done stories in the past, and we visited, NASCAR race shops. Joe Gibbs Racing is one of them. And they say, they use a lot of football players, former athletes are in the pit crews,
Pit crew.
and all that. Who'd you see on your football team that would be great in that pit crew? Who you feel you could probably handle business in a NASCAR pit crew?
I think any of those D linemen right now would do awesome in the pit crews. Probably our tight ends. They look like pit crew guys that I've seen pretty well put together, lean, trim, and strong. None of those wide receivers would do very good.
All right, guys, we've got time for about one or two more questions to the coach right now.
I was going to ask, did you grow up going to racetracks, or was it you caught a race on TV and that's how you got hooked?
Yeah, pretty much TV. No, we didn't go hardly anywhere when I was growing up. So didn't go to any races. I've only been to 2 races, but I was kind of hooked on it, on just watching it on TV, and my wife usually takes a nap while I'm watching it.